Hey guys, what's going on? Megan here, back with another video on Top Tier Tuesday. So we're gonna pick up where we left off. Last time we did top 10 human races ranked based on bodybuilding potential, which is just purely putting on a ton of muscle without gaining a lot of body fat. This time we're gonna do based on strength, right? Producing as much force as possible. And we're gonna look at, we're not just looking at powerlifting, guys. Powerlifting is only 3 lifts. We're looking at everything. The 3 powerlifting lifts, all the strongman lifts, Olympic lifting, everything. So pretty much the ability to be as strong as possible. Now, before we get started, obviously I gotta put the disclaimer, guys. So if you already know the disclaimer, just skip it. Go on to the next chapter. If you're new, if it's your first time watching, watch the disclaimer because I don't want to see your sensitive ass in the comment section. But for the rest of you guys who have some goddamn sense, who know that we are all one family and that no one is overall better than the other, just skip the disclaimer because I'm literally going to just copy and paste it from last video. Disclaimer, disclaimer, disclaimer. If you easily offended, if you're sensitive, do not watch this video. Like I always say, just dislike it and get fucking lost, right? It blows my mind that we live in an era where we can't even talk about race and ethnic groups without people getting sensitive and people having superiority complexes and all that bullshit, okay? To me, the difference between people, the difference between populations is fascinating. It's pure biology to me, right? Humans are just fucking animals, right? And just like animals, depending on where your ancestors evolved and adapted to, that's gonna come with some differences. We all have differences, and that's fucking fine. That doesn't mean one group is better. That doesn't mean one group is worse. It's all relative. It all depends on where we evolved. So disclaimer number one, when I say race, I'm just talking about an easy way to categorize people, right? I don't want to hear you fucking scientists in the comment section complain about race is a social construct. Shut up, right? When I say Asian, you know what the fuck I'm referring to. When I say Native American, when I say black or whatever, you know what I'm referring to. It's just a way to quickly categorize people. At the end of the day, we all part of the human race. We just have minor differences. All right, we have differences in muscle mass, speed, strength, IQ, height, endurance, body fat distribution, you name it. It's all biology, right? Also, when I talk about a race, guys, that doesn't mean every single person that falls into that race, that falls into that category is going to have that phenotype. No, it just means on average, right? So when we say Asians have high IQ, that doesn't mean every fucking Asian has fucking 160 IQ. It just means on average, right? It's a frequency thing. Same thing when we say West Africans have great genetics for muscle mass. That doesn't mean every single West African is gonna come out with a fucking myostatin deficiency. I'm West African and I have shit genetics, whereas my sister has great genetics, right? So there are huge variations even between people and between races, right? It just means on average. So stop taking this shit too seriously. And the last point I want to make is for people that think genetics don't play a role in sports and in all these other things, get lost. I can't stand you motherfuckers. People that think that everyone can just take steroids and look like Ronnie Coleman or everyone can just train hard enough and make it to the Olympics, fuck off. You guys are so retarded and so ignorant of basic science that it blows my mind, right? Genetics play a huge role in performance, right? There are at least 8,000 genes that are differentially transcribed between high responders and low responders. Even in basic bodybuilding, even in basic going to the gym, building muscle, there are over 8,000 genes that are differentially transcribed between the hyper responders and the low responders. That's a lot of fucking genes, guys. That means two people can go to the gym, do the exact same training, same nutrition, and have vastly different results. Same thing with steroids, right? So get out here with that whole just train hard and you're gonna make it to the Olympic bullshit. Now, again, that doesn't mean you should use genes as an excuse to not work hard, of course, right? That's definitely not what I'm saying. But all I'm saying is you cannot discount the effect of genes and just think that it's all about environment, right? It's all about a combination of genes and environment. A pygmy can train as hard as he wants. He's not going to be a center in the fucking NBA, right? The average height of a pygmy is less than 5 feet tall. Good luck with that, right? The average Samoan is big as shit, so he's not going to win a fucking marathon anytime soon, no matter how hard he trains. All right, and last disclaimer is I don't want to see any fucking hypocrite in my comment section. You guys know what I'm talking about. The guys who want to blame everything on fucking systemic racism, and the moment you point out a difference between races, oh, it has to be because of racism. Fuck off, right? You far left liberal motherfuckers. You know what I'm talking about. The moment I say something good about black people, that's fine. The moment I say something good about any other minority, that's fine. The moment I mention one good thing about Europeans or whatever, out of nowhere, oh my gosh, systemic racism. I can't stand you guys. You are so insecure that you can't even give credit where credit is due. But anyway, that's the disclaimer. Let's get to the video. All right, let's get started. Also, guys, remember, last time I got asked so many times, where are Latinos? Guys, know your fucking history, right? Know your ancestry. Latinos are mixed, guys. You guys are mixed Native American, mixed European, and a little bit of African, right? West African, Sub-Saharan African, right? So you guys are mixed race, right? So that's why I put mixed races here, okay? So you have to do a genetic test to figure out what percentage you got of each, right? Because you could be Latino, but like 75% fucking European or 75% Native American or whatever, right? So it varies. Not all Latinos are the same. Just like not all white people or all blacks are the same, right? But anyway, so we have Europeans, we have West Africans, we have Asians, mostly East Asians, we have South Asians, we have, again, the Middle East and North Africa. I put them into one group. We have Native Americans, we have mixed races, so that could be black, white, that could be, I'm using Philly here, but obviously it could be anyone who's mixed. We have Australian Aboriginals, we have East Africans, and we have Polynesians. Remember, guys, I had to fit everyone into just 10 groups because there are just way too many ethnic groups out there. Even if you just look at Europeans, so diverse. Africans, so diverse. South Asians, so diverse. In India alone, you have so many groups, right? So to keep this video short, I had to just pick 10, right? I had to group everyone into 10, right? So don't comment the obvious as far as, wait, there's a lot of diversity between. Shut the fuck up. We all know. All right, let's get started. Criteria we're going to use is, we're going to keep it scientific as fuck. The criteria we're going to use is skeletal structure, right? So that's your leverages, your limbs, your muscle to tendon attachments, center of gravity, all that stuff, right? Second is obviously fast twitch muscles. Obviously, a bigger muscle is going to be stronger. So if your ethnic group or whatever is able to put on muscle, once again, on average, right, as fast as possible, that's going to help contribute to strength. We're going to look at, believe it or not, the ability to get fat, right? The bigger you are, that's going to come with some body fat, right? There's a reason why the top powerlifters and top strongmen are fat as shit, right? Getting as big as possible is going to help you become as strong as possible. But that's also going to come with a lot of body fat, right? Body fat, believe it or not, as long as it's not excessive, helps with strength for reasons I'm not going to go into this video. Number 4, we're going to look at androgen receptor polymorphisms. Again, I went into details in previous videos. And last but not least, we're going to look at the amount of gene polymorphisms that favor strength. Believe it or not, there's a ton of studies on that, right? There's a lot of genes that give you an advantage in strength, right? And all of these are based on studies, no opinions here. All right, let's get started. So Europeans, you guys should know, if you watch my video on strongman and Asian, whatever, then I'm about to know category, right? Especially Central Europe, Eastern Europe, and Scandinavians, right? Skeletal structure, damn near perfect for strength, right? Height, low center of gravity, short limbs due to Bergman's rule and the adaptation to evolving in a cold climate, leverages, you name it, right? Not to mention the Scandinavians are tall as fuck, so that obviously helps them pack on a lot of muscle mass. That's also the reason why, if you look at the NFL, the positions that require the most strength, it's actually very fucking close between whites and blacks, whereas the positions that require a lot of speed are just dominated by blacks, right? And I would explain why. So Europeans at the top, the only thing that lacking is androgen receptor activity. Blacks dominate that. But out of the top 5 things that I mentioned, they have 4. They have 4 of the top 5, especially the gene polymorphisms. They have a ton of gene polymorphisms that favor strength, And again, those genes affect different things. Tendons, ligaments, bone structure, blah, blah, you name it. If you don't believe me, do the research yourself. And they're also able to put on a lot of fat easily. Once again, adaptation to the cold. Next, West African descendants. Also, I'm about to know a category, but that's only because of 4 of the top 5 criteria. They are able to put on muscle extremely fast. You guys already know I made a ton of videos about that. The best gene polymorphisms for actinin 3 and androgen receptor sensitivity. So again, when they use steroids, they blow the fuck up at much lower doses than the average person. The only thing that hurts them a bit is the skeletal structure, right? They don't have an optimal skeletal structure for strength, right? Europeans have that. And that's mainly because West Africans evolved close to the equator where it's extremely hot. So obviously Bergman and Allen's rule kick in. So they have longer limbs and more mesomorphic, ectomorphic body types. They also have a very high center of gravity, which is very, very, very helpful for running and sprinting, but very bad when it comes to a lot of powerlifting or strongman lifts. You want to have a low center of gravity for that. They also have extremely long limbs, which again, great for basketball, great for running, bad for strength, right? Just try to bench press with long arms. See how hard that shit is. Same thing with squats. If you have very long legs, God help you. So really, the only thing that puts them up there is their ability to put on muscle mass very fast, because obviously that's going to contribute a lot to strength, and their ability to respond and their sensitivity to testosterone, right? Give the average West African descendant, again, that includes African Americans, all that, give them a small dose of DHT derivative, Primo, Masteron, whatever, Anadrol, and they get strong as shit. The downside of that, obviously, is, prostate cancer, right? Because remember, evolution comes with trade-offs. If your androgen receptor is very sensitive to testosterone, then you're also going to have higher rates of prostate cancer. And sure enough, black people have the highest rates of prostate cancer in the whole world. There's obviously different reasons for that too, but again, I covered that in previous videos. Next, Asians. Believe it or not, even though they're ranked so low in the previous video, because again, that one was just for bodybuilding. For strength, fucking amazing. Right? If you look at the studies, it's very surprising because you would think they'll be down here, right? Based on their, the other things they lack at, but they're actually very, very fucking strong. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Even if you don't believe the studies, just walk into your gym. You're going to see a skinny, short Asian squatting fucking 4 plates, bench pressing 3 plates like it's nothing. And then he just walks to the water fountain, scrawny as shit. And you're like, what the fuck? It's also no coincidence that these guys dominate Olympic lifting, along with Russia and stuff like that. And it's mainly because of the skeletal structure and a lot of polymorphisms, right? They have a low center of gravity, they have very short limbs, which is great for Olympic lifting. They have some high frequencies for gene polymorphism for strength, but not as much as the other groups. The only drawback is androgen receptor sensitivity is actually very low. But some of them actually have a lot of polymorphisms that allow them to take a lot of testosterone and still pass the TE ratio test, right? So you can kind of put that in there as well. So they can take a lot of drugs. Again, not all of them, but a small group can take a lot of drugs and still pass the test, right? Which is again cheating, but everyone at the top level uses steroids. Next, South Asians, guys, I'm sorry, man. South Asians have some of the shittiest genetics for strength and some of the shittiest genetics for bodybuilding. And again, don't shoot the fucking messenger, man. You guys know I gotta keep it objective. I love my South Asian brothers. It's just, man, you guys were fucking so many departments. And again, when I make a video on the whole South Asian population, I'm going to explain exactly what it is. It's all natural selection. Don't take that shit personally, guys. And also keep in mind, this is South Asians as a group on average. It does not mean that within the South Asian populations, you're not going to find any very, very strong groups. No, I'm just talking about on average. On average, you guys are fucked. But if you dive deeper, of course, you're going to find a lot of ethnic groups, that are extremely strong, even in India and all the surrounding parts. Next, Middle East, North Africa, fucking amazing when it comes to strength and power output. Again, if you watch the previous video, make sure you watch that one first. You're gonna figure out why. They're pretty much the best of both worlds, right? They have a lot of genes that sub-Saharan Africans have, and they also have a lot of genes that Europeans have, and they also have a lot of, a small percentage of Asian genes. So they're pretty much the best of both worlds, right? So it pretty much depends on what part of the Middle East you're looking at. I always say one of the luckiest quote-unquote races or ethnic groups in the world is Middle Eastern guys, right? Because they are right there in the middle. They literally have the most balanced genetic profile. Strength, muscle building, IQ, you name it. They're right there in the middle. Right? And if you look at the map, it makes perfect sense, right? They're literally right there at the middle of so many wars and so many conquests. And, wanted to go from east to west or west to east, you had to go past the Middle East, right? Same thing. If you wanted to go from sub-Saharan Africa and follow the land bridge into East Africa or West Africa, you were going to go through the Middle East, right? So these guys are some of the luckiest people on the planet because they have a mixture of so many positive adaptations. Next, Native Americans. Believe it or not, Native Americans are bad, right? And again, it's mainly because of natural selection, right? They had to adapt to be mainly endurance-based. So you're not going to find them at the top when it comes to putting on muscle. You're not going to find them at the top when it comes to power output, but they dominate a lot of endurance stuff. Right? If you watch my video on boxing and stuff like that, you know what I'm talking about. So remember, if you're Latino, you mix with Native American, European, and African, right? So you're going to be a mixed race. All right, next, mixed race. I'm going to put that at fucking amazing, but at the end, because once again, it depends on, what you mix with. Are you white, black? Are you European and Native American? It depends, right? So you're going to have to do DNA tests to figure out what you mix, right? If you mix with some of the groups at the top, then obviously you're going to be at the top on average, of course. If you mix with some of the ones down here, then, do the math. So mixed race, fucking amazing, but depending mainly on your parents, but mainly depending on your ancestry. But you'll notice a lot of mixed motherfuckers are strong as hell. I mean, look at Larry Wills. Larry Wills is obviously mixed. You know, he definitely has West African descent because obviously he has African American genes and obviously, you know, European. Because remember, guys, African Americans are 25% European, which is why I laugh when everyone wants to be a hypocrite or racist or whatever. It's like, dude, like if you're African American, you have 25% European DNA because of slavery and all that shit, right? So you're pretty much European, right? You're 25% European, right? So stop being a hypocrite, stop being racist, stop being a black supremacist, right? It makes no sense whatsoever. Yeah, it's unfortunate because of the effects of slavery and all that stuff, the raping and all that stuff. But guys, every ethnic group has an ancestor that was a slave and that was a king. Every single ethnic group. I don't want to go off tangent, but that's why I don't play that tribalism, racism bullshit, right? I don't look at one race as better or whatever because all of us, if you study history, all of us, our ancestors did some fucked up shit, whether you're black or white. That doesn't justify slavery. That doesn't justify all the evil things that people have done. But at the same time, be very careful when you point fingers, right? Because everyone has blood in their hands if you go back far enough. Next, we have Aboriginals. They're going to be in the bad category. And again, that's mainly because they had to adapt it to be a lot more endurance-based, right? If you look at the hunters and gatherers in Australia, these guys, not only they had to adapt to a very, very dry and hot climate, but if you do a genetic analysis on them, they have a lot of polymorphisms that allow them to be endurance athletes and to withstand extreme heat. A bit similar to sub-Saharan Africans, but they don't have the androgen receptor polymorphisms or fast twitch muscle adaptations and myostatin mutations that sub-Saharan Africans have. So they're kind of fucked. Next, East Africans, pure garbage. My East African brothers, stop getting mad. It's like I see them in the comment section complaining and shit. You can't have everything, right? Most East Africans, especially if you have Kalenjin tribe DNA, you guys are the best marathon runners and endurance runners on the planet. On the planet. And it has zero to do with culture. It's all genetics because the studies have been done. These guys are built to run. Long distance, that is. Not sprinting, long distance. That's why they dominate 90+% of marathon events. Right? It's not even close, guys. There's such a small percentage of the world population. But if you look at gold medals, oh my God, they're blowing everyone out of the water. And no, it's not because they're run to school or all that fucking bullshit. You know how many poor places of the world have students that walk and run to school? No, the studies have been done. These guys are light, their skeletal structure, their VO2 max. You can literally go to the Kalenjin tribe, close your eyes, pick a random kid that went through zero endurance training, bring him to the West, bring him to Europe, wherever you want, train him, and in less than a year, he's blowing people out of the water that have been training for years, right? The studies have been done. We've seen that over and over again. These guys are built to run. Again, I already made a video explaining why, so I'm not going to repeat myself. It's, once again, natural selection, right? So you can't have a body type that is great for running and at the same time be extremely fucking strong, right? Because it's literally opposite ends of the spectrum. For the same reasons why all the ethnic groups that are up here, they suck at long distance running. They suck, right? And the few that are good are actually outliers. Whereas here, the few that are bad at long distance running are the outliers, right? Evolution comes with trade-offs, guys. Can't be good at everything. Finally, last but not least, oh my fucking God. Guys, Polynesians. So mainly Samoans, people from Tonga, all that shit. Guys, these guys have the best genetics for strength. Oh my fucking God. By the way, watch my video on Samoans and Polynesians and all that stuff. Because I'm going to skip a lot of reasons why. But these guys are built. If you look at the studies, if you look at the research, the average 10-year-old Polynesian, and again from the regions that I mentioned in that video, has the strength of like a fucking 20-year-old guy, right? These guys are able to get big as fuck, strong as fuck, fat as fuck. Their bone structure is built for strength. Their legs are extremely powerful. They're athletic. I mean, they are absolute units. If these guys started training for and entering strongman events or powerlifting events, it would be game the fuck over, right? Most of them are playing rugby, by the way. They're playing rugby, so we don't really see them, participate in all these other events. But, oh, my Lord. And once again, if you don't believe me, just look it up. Do the research. You guys know I love studies, man. I have thousands and thousands of studies in my Access database. I read this shit for fun. Like, on my spare time, I literally, while people are watching Netflix and doing all that other bullshit, I'm constantly digging through studies. I love science. I love genetics. To me, that's the equivalent of playing video games, right? So I have no reason to lie to you guys. Do the research yourself. These guys are monsters. And they're such a small percentage of the world population. right? And I already explained why, as far as natural selection goes, watch the video. It's mainly because of the shit the ancestors had to go through, right? But anyway, guys, I gotta take a shit, so I gotta wrap this up. These are your top 10. You have Polynesians, Europeans, and West African descendants at the top. Fucking amazing. You have Middle East, Asian, mixed races. Bad. You have Native Americans, Australian Aboriginals. Pure garbage. You have South Asians and East Africans. But always remember there are outliers within each group, so you can find some of the people within this group at the bottom and some of the people within this group at the top, right? So at the end of the day, it boils down to the individual level and who your parents are, right? So don't lose hope and don't use that as an excuse. The best way to find out is to either get your DNA tested or just fucking train and see what your numbers are after the first 2 years. That's the best way to figure out if you have an advantage or something or not, right? How much progress are you making in the first 2 years compared to the average? But anyway, guys, hope this video helps. See you in the comment section. All right, guys, don't forget to like or share the video, subscribe and hit the bell, and buy my HSP Nucleus Overload Training Program. It's the ultimate program for maximum muscle growth. It includes full body workout splits, bro splits, push-pull, home workouts, you name it. Also comes with a complete guide for macros, nutrition, fat loss, muscle growth, hormones, including a meal plan. It's pretty much all my 16 years of experience condensed into one fucking book. You're also going to get free copies of any future edition. So visit Team3DAlpha.com and you can use the 40% off coupon code Nucleus Overload. Or you could just buy the shit at full price. Alright guys, I'm out of here.